Okay, hello, Kathy. It's so good to see your beautiful face. How are you today?
I'm doing great out here in South Carolina and Columbia. All
Okay, well,
nice,
I'm
nice.
excited to share your story today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set it up.
Okay.
For everyone watching in, I want you to imagine that it's 1:15 in the morning. You're home alone, you're half dressed. You're just watching TV, working on your laptop, just like any other normal night. Then suddenly your body betrays you. Your legs collapse, your face goes numb. You can't stand, you can't scream. So what do? You crawl. That's exactly what Kathy did on April 12th, 2019, just 8 days before the launch of Akanna. So, right now, you're about to hear a story of survival, divine timing, and a second chance that changed everything. From crawling across her living room floor during a stroke to walking confidently into her purpose 6 years later, Kathy is living proof at what happens when you act fast, trust your instinct, and commit to healing at the root. Get ready to hear how she turned her crisis into a calling using CBD, holistic nutrition, and the full body reset to reclaim her health and inspire a movement. So, Kathy, take us back to that night. It's April 12th, 2019. What was going through your mind as you crawled across the floor, half dressed, trying to reach your husband?
Melissa, I was terrified. I was terrified because I had never felt like this before. Here I was, like you said, crawling across the floor because I couldn't stand. I mean, I felt weak. Every time as I was crawling, I would lose strength in my arm to help me crawl. And so I felt myself getting weaker and weaker. I was slightly sweaty. I was dizzy. It even seemed like my hearing was going. It was just so many things going on with my body that it was freaking me out. I mean, and then I was thinking, is this how this is going to end? Am I dying? Am I having a heart attack? What is happening? Because when you've never felt these feelings before or the loss of strength, I felt like I was panicky. It was just, it was terrifying. It was horrible. It really was.
Wow. And I can relate to that, right? When you have something so traumatic and you
Yeah.
don't know if it's the end or not. And so, but you made a bold move. I mean, you're in the emergency room and you decide to use CBD on your own. The doctor didn't tell you to use it. So, what gave you the confidence to do that? And how did you believe it was going to impact your recovery? And how did it impact your recovery?
Well, in 2017, I was introduced to CBD through another company that we were partnered with. And through that, there was a lot of education that was given. Every month, there was certification that taught us about how to understand CBD, how it worked with our system inside of our bodies, and how the benefits were, and how to use it. And so, through that, along with not only the experts teaching us this, but they also made reference to other credible sources like PubMed and the CDC and the thousands of peer review articles. And so after absorbing all of that information, I felt confident that I knew that the quicker I got CBD in my body, that the quicker I could ward off any brain damage, or more still, the thing that most people can associate with a stroke is motor skill loss. And so I didn't know whether or not I was going to have a droopy face or whether I would have slurred speech, but that terrified me. The thought of having the visual effects of a stroke, because that is what you think about when you hear the word stroke. And so I knew, based on what I had studied from 2017, that this was absolutely the things I was going to do. And so I pulled my vape pen out right away and started vaping right there in this emergency room that they had me in. My husband freaked out. He freaked out. He was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, what are you doing?" And I said, "Listen, they're either going to tell me to stop or they're going to not say anything because they can't throw me out." Right? So I did it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and hey, listen, guys, we're making no medical claims, but just know that again, Kathy, you took the research we had been studying since 2017 and put it to action. And what a testimonial to be your own testimonial of the power of how it actually did work for you. So a lot of people look at health on the outside, right? They're looking at you and saying, Kathy, you look like the picture of health. What were your warning signs, or were there a lack of warning signs that led to your stroke?
Nothing. There was nothing that was warning me. I am a little overweight, but not considered obese. I don't smoke. I don't drink excessively. I don't have a history of heart issues or cholesterol issues or blood pressure. None of those histories was part of my life. So, no, there wasn't any physical warning signs. And no, I wasn't sitting in any categories that would make me specifically susceptible.
Wow. Now, just knowing your journey, because I felt like I lived it with you, right? We were always in constant communication.
Yeah.
I remember even when 8 days later, I mean, against all odds, you showed up at our opening, right? So that
You
was,
guys tried your best to keep me from coming, but we have worked so hard to make a transition from our initial company to the women coming together and creating this dream, the vision. There was just no way that was just my way of being able to show this obstacle that you are not standing in my way, that I'm gonna come there. You guys wouldn't let me do a darn thing when I got there, but but I was determined to do that because I knew that we had to see this dream come to fruition, and I needed to be there.
wow. Well, I know CBD has been one part of your journey, but I do know also too, CBD can only go so far. So we also have to show up and do the work. And
Yeah.
I remember when we actually brought in the bioscan. And I remember in 2021, before we actually introduced it to the public, you were adamant you wanted to get to Chicago. You wanted to get your scan done and see what was happening. Um,
Right.
kind of talk about what happened when you were able to see deeper and what your thoughts were behind the revelation of your scan.
Wow. That was where I actually saw what could have been the problem. There was in my cerebral spinal um and in my cardiovascular scan, there were some concerns. There were some yellows and the yellows meant moderately abnormal. And so having never had a bad doctor's report, having not had any issues with those kind of reports coming before, the bioscan really opened my eyes to hidden things that I had not thought about. And so then I could see, okay, there seems to be some sort of blood flow issue in my brain that I can see on this scan. There seems to be some blockages in getting, not blockages, but some impediment in getting my blood flow correctly in my heart. And so I saw all types of things. I saw some hormonal imbalances. I saw some chemical vitamin imbalances that could absolutely contribute. And so all of those things stacked and beginning to learn about how the bioscan was, that just really opened my eyes. It really did.
Wow. So you made a decision to go ahead and do the 21-day, cleanse. And we call that our full body reset. And so not only did that impact your health, but I know it impacted your mindset around wellness and self-care. So kind of talk about the process of you're completing this cleanse, what were your results, and how did it impact how you move forward?
The first time that I did the cleanse, it was a true challenge, Melissa. It really blew my mind about changing your palate and the ability to do that by not just taking things away, but really thinking about your outlook on food. And so really seeing food as nourishment instead of satisfaction was a big mind shift to me, because when I started to realize that there's certain foods that are going to nourish me more, and some things that were that were savory and that I just really craved were the things that were actually draining nutrition from me. Really, just that education, Melissa, really woke me up to what was important, you know? And so during the first cleanse, I was able to lose 11 pounds. I was able to lose a couple inches. Elimination was better. Sleep was awesome. And blood pressure began to be more regulated. I even followed that up with another cleanse right behind that. And so between those, I lost 39 pounds, Melissa.
Wow.
And I was able to change sizes. I got into a medium pair of shorts and just really the confidence level when you feel better on the inside and then you look better on the outside, it was just amazing to me. And just to know that you could do that by the food you choose to eat.
And you live in South Carolina, so let's
I live in
not,
South Carolina. Yeah, it's
right. And
hard
that's
because
a
everything's
foodie
fried here.
place. It's like meat, what, 3 times a day, every meal?
Or carbs. So rice or grits,
Mhm.
at least in every meal, bread of some sort, and yeah, meat, and preferably fried meat.
And when you think about a stroke or heart attack, we know that cholesterol is a big part of it. Obviously, too
It
much
does.
sugar, carbs contribute to
Right.
a lot of our health issues as well. But we know that the source of cholesterol is animal meat, right? And so definitely I look at you and I know you've gone from stroke survivor to thriving leader in a holistic health movement. So really what keeps you motivated to stay the course and to inspire others? Because we know people can fall off track, but what motivates you to stay on this course?
What motivates me is the rest of the folks that I am relating to in Akanna and the customers that I've been able to assist. By helping other people, you really essentially end up helping yourself. So all of the information that I've learned as I've shared it with other people and I've seen them implement that, it encourages me because I'm thinking I can't fall off because they are really embracing this and it's changing their lives too. So I got to make sure that I'm on top of myself so I can continue to be a beacon. Also the fact that there's, when we first started this journey in 2017, and as we've learned and added more information that we know, it seems like the rest of the world is starting to come around to understanding about how to eat well and doing natural and organic, and it just seems like the world is flipping around. So what's encouraging is that there are more and more people that don't think we're crazy anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you live in certain areas where, it's just the norm. Like, I remember when I first was vegan, I remember a family member saying, well, it's fish. Can't you eat that? That's not vegan. Now
Right.
more pescatarian, but it
Right.
is true that we have to help people understand the power of plant-based living.
Right.
But they are coming along. But what would you say to that woman or man right now that's listening and they feel stuck? Maybe they're scared. Maybe they have some symptoms and they're not sure if it is heart related or stroke related. Um, they're not sure that change is possible. What would you say to that person?
I would say that I am a 60-year young woman who is so excited about the fact that I can control what's happening with my health. See, a lot of times we think that we can't control it, that it's hereditary, that this is our fate, and it happened to mom, it happened to dad, it's going to happen to me just because. And you got to realize, and this is what I learned the most, is that those are not traditional diseases. It's the practices that we have had. It is not a traditional thing that we have these diseases. It is tradition on how we prepare and what we eat. And so, with that control and with that knowledge, you can really feel empowered so that you can make better choices. When you know that you can change your health through your food choices, through your activity choices, even mindset, Melissa. When you think yourself well, it can be so. And so I'm empowered completely at 60 years young that as I look around at these 75, 80-year-olds that we have around us that are running marathons and that are getting healthier by the day, I encourage men and women out there of all ages, and no matter what your health is, that you have the control over this. You can decide whether or not you have better health. It's right there in your hands. And so I just invite everyone to really get more education, reach out, and be able to absorb that information about what's going on inside of your body.
That's awesome. I know we say that genetics load your gun, but it's your lifestyle that pulls the trigger.
That's
And you
right.
just hit the head on the nail. So great job, Kathy. And it's just amazing to see, 6 years later, to see how vibrant you are, to see how your scan numbers are improving every single time, and your blood pressure, all of that just being normal. And so we're super excited for your future. And thank you so much for joining me. And we do have a very special announcement that's going to happen in 3 days. So remember, if you have not yet had a chance to see any of our other videos, I'll go live at 12 p.m. Central this Saturday, which is May the 10th. I'm making a special announcement and one day a private offer that you will have access to, right? But no one on social media who's not a part of this special group will get this information. So I'm going to explain this offer in great detail. I'm going to activate the deal on my live video that we do on Saturday. And it's only going to be available until midnight that night. Again, only for those in the group. And everyone else will be removed from the group after midnight. So don't miss it. And so you want to act quickly. Register now. Go to fullbodyreset360.com. Once you get the invitation to the Facebook group, make sure you request access no later than 8 a.m. Central on Saturday, May the 10th. Doors to the group will close at 8 a.m. Central on that day and will not reopen. We will see you on the inside. Thank you for watching.